also had few very favorable Catholic priests who really liked that we come, we chant in the morning. I remember we had one in a little town in South Germany, an old man, and he was very fascinated that there are still monks traveling around, and he was also a man who spent his life in celibacy actually, and he was getting up as early as we did. And he was going to the big organ in the church, and he was playing, songs about Jesus and praying, and then he was chanting on his rosary. So he didn't took monk, and we timed it up, our japa time with his japa time. And he was chanting his rosary, and we had a whole church for ourselves, a huge church. So we end up with a situation where I climb up behind the big organ, I don't know how to place this huge thing. But the basic register, I pull the basic things, and it was fortunately powered by electricity. Usually in the old days, it's powered by air, these huge pipes, and they had two boys jumping up and down with these big bags with this pumping air into the pipes, and then the priest could play. That was part of the service. Fortunately, it was already by the time we came around, it was all on electric. So I was Samsara Dava Nalalidalo. You can imagine how it sounds to the church, it's just monstrous sound coming out. And down there in the hall I could see there was this huge altar with Jesus, and devotees put up our altar underneath, with all the pictures, and they end up dancing with the priest between the benches, like that. With the Medanga and this, and he liked that. He really liked this. He said, "This is actually a nice service." It can happen to you still until today in Italy. That's one of the places where devotees, Sankirtan devotees, have a big problem. They meet people on the street. I saw it myself in the Rath Yatra in Milano, a huge church. And when the Rath Yatra procession passed by, three obviously high-standing priests are coming out, and they come in front of Jagannath, and they go, they go around the car, buy 5 books, and go back again in the church. This can happen only in Italy. The priests come out, bless Lord Jagannath, or get some blessing, it doesn't matter. And then, buy 5 books, that's the real blessing, and then they go in. And devotees dance on them. And Sankirtan devotees in Italy, they have the problems. Because there's small towns, middle of the church, middle of the day, there's a service in the church is full. Of course, most of it older people nowadays, not the young people. And then, I know from Anaka that's beautiful Italian Sankirtan devotee. He said, "I have a problem with this. I cannot go in the middle of the day like this on the street because the priest comes out and pulls me from the street." And he goes, no, come. And then, he said, "You have to give a lecture. We have a whole church full." And he's pushing him, and they have the stairs coming up, and the Vyasasana is quite high, in a Catholic church. It's hanging on some column, some box. It's like, and he pushes him up, and I got used to it. So I learned how to present Bhagavad Gita in a Christian way. So you go up the stairs, and then you have a whole church full of people. And you go Hare Krishna, and then you give a short Bhagavad Gita lecture, rephrased in the terms that they can relate to it. And actually, the priests are extremely respectful. They say something. That's the small churches. The headquarters, Vatican, no, that doesn't happen. For sure not. For sure not. That's where the anti-sect campaigns are organized. But the small guys in the villages and the small congregations, they are very often favorable because they can see the purity of the devotee. In Germany it was terminated after 2 years by the central church management. A letter was issued, both Catholic and Protestant, never accommodate Hare Krishna. It's forbidden. No explanation. So much for the Christian mercy. So our thing, but it was demanding anyway to be in this, next to the disco, we couldn't sleep at night, and they had that disco going on, and I was on my ping pong table, and I couldn't sleep, and all this. And so we were happy then out on the street, and we ended up just sleeping in our cars. So anyway, so this was our early days traveling. So demon, especially in Kali Yuga, cannot be recognized by dress. Sometimes not even by the speech. He will be recognized by the action, especially in contact with devotee. And Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj pointed that out. He said, the proof that I'm preaching something right is that they hate me. They try even to kill him. And that was not coming even from the general public. It was coming from the Brahmana priests. They organized that maybe this Bhaktisiddhanta has to be killed. You know, yeah. Fortunately, the local police chief who was advised to keep quiet when they do that was a pious person, so he warned Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj. There is a plan how to kill you. So, again, demon is not recognized by the dress. He can look, and especially in Kali Yuga, the demons have blessing. They cannot do this in other ages. In Kali Yuga, demons will be born as priests and kings, leaders of the society. They cannot do it normally in other ages because the atmosphere is too pure. But because the atmosphere is already so contaminated, so the leaders are, most of the time, they are demons and the priests. But it doesn't have to be a rule. There are exceptions, of course. We met nice priests and we met nice politicians even, but they have one thing in common: they are totally frustrated about the state of things. Therefore, they naturally sympathize with devotees because they say, "This is too much. What's going on in church here? This is too much." And then, you know, especially church, the pedophile business and all this. They say, "This is too much." They have the same problem like some of us also, because there are also some people who would like to pretend that they are Hare Krishna, but they are not. You know, Prabhupada, studied his letters, and also finally it finds its way even into Chaitanya Charitamrita. He writes, there are demons in the Hare Krishna movement. I would like to go around and find out which ones they are. It's a dangerous experiment. You can make a good offense, but they are here, definitely. There are ideas coming up in the name of Krishna consciousness which we have to be very alert. Where is this coming from? So therefore, thanks to Srila Prabhupada's books, which are the law books, we can always find the reference. Hey, but this is not in a book, or what is this? Where is this coming from? No. This is a preliminary step to Krishna consciousness. I'm not even saying that this is direct Krishna consciousness, but it's very useful. Once in history of Scandinavia, we asked our GBC, why has every room have an aquarium with 7 red fishes and 2 black ones or something like that? Or why we have to move the furniture all the time around? And why suddenly, you can see it in Krishna's when you come, there is a forest road which goes like from the property towards the lake. But you cannot go there. So huge boulders, stones build up a whole mountain which blocks the road. So what is this? This looks like somebody was blowing some piece of rock and dumping the debris, or what is this? So we asked our and he said, well, Vastu. If it makes your life better, then why not do it? But actually, it didn't make our preaching, or that's our life, right? Preaching is our life. It didn't make our preaching better. You cannot go even in the forest without climbing over the stones. And everybody was talking just about that. How to move the aquarium and the furniture and the fence station around. Therefore, I cannot serve Krishna because the window is on the wrong side of the room. The window should be here, not here. And I am disturbed. I cannot chant Hare Krishna. Prabhupada had a very simple answer to that. Ahetuki apratyartha. Devotional service doesn't depend on material circumstances. And he was living it in front of him. There was his Vastu when he was sleeping in one room with his dirty hippies. There was the Vastu when he traveled around and preached. I'm not against Vastu. If you build a house, some grihasta, and wants to make it nicely, why not? And he feels comfortable with that, fine. It's not that. They say, but it's a Vedic science. There's so much Vedic. Even Krishna says, there is so much flowery Vedic, just forget it. To Arjuna, in the Bhagavad Gita. So much flowery Vedic, forget it. Just surrender to me and serve me and fight for me. This is Krishna's Vedic. And of course, yes, Vedic means knowledge. So there are so much about digestion, and there is about construction, and there is about eating, sleeping, mating and defending in a Vedic way. There is so much to learn. People are fascinated by that. You can make good money with it too, you know. I will show you how to fix up your digestion in a Vedic way. Immediately you have customers. If you tell them, I will show you how to go back home, back to Godhead. What should I do with that? Why do we need that? You know. But digestion, immediately. Yes, very interesting subject. Digestion. I may go with these unpolite chick jokes. I was saying the day the Bhaktivedanta Bhuttas will publish a deluxe edition of Kama Sutra, I think it's time to move on. You know. And it's also Vedic. That's a Vedic scripture. You know. Because eating, sleeping, mating and defending, very interesting. Going back home, back to Godhead, what should I do with that? This is the demon. This is demonic. We know Shishupala, Hiranyakashipu. They were Vedic demons. They knew the Vedas. They knew how to quote so many issues, so many things. But at the end, how to kill Vishnu. That's all. That's the conclusion of the Veda. How to kill Vishnu. So this kind of mentality we should not cultivate. So, as Prabhupada points out over and over again, we should sing about Vishnu favorably. Of course, and you can imagine when you sing about Vishnu consciously unfavorably, consciously about Vishnu, you achieve Saivijaya Mukti. At least that kind of liberation. What to speak if one thinks about Vishnu or Krishna favorably? So what a benefit must be that. So Krishna, of course, makes the condition. You can really realize me as I am only in a positive way of thinking. Surrender to me. Surrender means positive. And again, there are degrees of positive thinking. Degrees of, oh, I'm the servant, very good. But then, actually, servant means you just fulfill the orders. That's all. But then, of course, the relationship can get more personal and more activated. Yeah. Then, you know, actually I please you even before you say it. Prabhupada called it the first class disciple. He doesn't have to be even instructed. Second class disciple, he is doing on instruction. He is told, he does. Very good. And a third class disciple, he does things only when he likes to. You know. He's also acting occasionally under instruction. But he goes, I don't feel today like doing this. Usually his spiritual master takes a very distant attitude towards such a third class disciple. Nowadays, lots of this around. Spiritual master, be very careful. He has to give only kind of advice and instructions so that possibly the disciple may like it. So there is a benefit, but certainly not as much as benefit as when a disciple gives instruction, and the master gives instruction, disciple acts. That's it. This is the ideal state. And completely transcendental state is. And a disciple is fulfilling the desire of the spiritual master even before it's even spoken. This is what Prabhupada also had such an experience. When the devotee is so connected to Krishna, because Krishna has nothing on his mind as to please his pure devotee. So when a devotee is so connected to Krishna, he will act in a way that the spiritual master is just in ecstasy and just pleasing. He goes, you really did that? That's fantastic. Actually the relation becomes almost friendly. Because it's such a high advanced level, but there is no need to talk about this. We can be lucky when we come close to the level that we just fulfill the instruction. We have to know what the instruction is and try to act upon it. And the whimsical level, well, that we see all the time. People come, people go. They join in, they feel kind of inspired. Yeah, they do a little bit, and after a while, do it yourself. And then they go again. That's Prabhupada really had to deal with that. He had already this kind of practical experience. But still, there's a benefit. There's a benefit which is eternal. So, this demonic mentality we face all the time. So since we still want to say some few minutes about the upcoming endeavor of the devotees, and I will have to do this again. I mean, I will be in 5 days in a Grihastha community in the middle of the hills. Just imagine I go there and I go, Sankirtan ki jai! They look at me like, this is old Sankirtan devotees, they know exactly what I'm talking about. But they will just lift up the babies in the air and go, that's my Sankirtan. What am I doing? That is also not very productive. I got a baby, I have to commit suicide. I missed the mission. I'm betrayed the desire of my spiritual master. I'm a failure. This is all a product of sex and lust. I know that. Well, when you have a family life like this, it's not going to be exactly very productive, Especially when the children get to notice that you sing like this, and they will. So that's another chapter. So that's why I always flop over into the Grihastha issues from Sankirtan issues, because, that's a community which is just started by old Sankirtan devotees. And they still sing Sankirtan ki jai, and then okay, alright, okay. Marathon ki jai, I have to change the nappies, okay? And work hard, they really work hard. Everybody works so nuts, cannot imagine. So what do you want to say? You don't have to point out to them, there is such a thing, book distribution, you could also do it. Actually, it's a pretty, I would call it almost harmful thing to do, to push book distribution in a field to somebody who is aware of it, but he is conditioned in a particular way. People get desperate. They can neither be a reasonable Grihastha, neither there will be a Sankirtan devotee. What there will be, just a desperate suicidal case. That's not exactly productive, Yeah. So, but there is always a way to do it. That was something which was never preached to us. Sankirtan was, when I joined and we joined, you have 2 legs, 2 arms, go! Sankirtan ki jai, go! You don't go? Well, you must be a demon. Even becoming sick was considered slightly demoniac. Or even worse, to sit down and read a book. I remember I tried a few times as a bhakta to sit down and read a book. This was dangerous. Some nice German Vaishnava came running down the stairs. What are you doing here? Reading a book. Are you nuts? Sankirtan ki jai! You have to work! You have to work! Run! That was the mood, And up to the point where Prabhupada noticed this was going all around the movement. And he had to really point out several times very heavily. He said, I wrote the books for you. You have to also read them, not just distribute them, Yeah. Because if you don't know what you are distributing, at least in a theoretical sense, you will definitely stop distributing them. Sankirtan was powered by social pressure, by all kinds of, you could call it external means. Still it was ecstatic. Once you do it, it's ecstatic. Sankirtan is so amazing that even you don't know what you are doing, you are still becoming ecstatic. Actually, Krishna consciousness, especially in the beginning, is like that. We don't know what this chanting is, we don't know what we are doing here, but we become happy. Because that's coming from inside. We are doing something wonderful. Krishna is pleased. But why Krishna is pleased and how he is pleased, well, we have to become aware of that, at least to some degree, otherwise we cannot sustain that activity. You cannot act upon emotion all the time. That we saw so many times. People come, hey, that feels good, it's great, wow, the prasadam and the dancing, wow. Yeah, but then wow what? And after a while, boom, the mind comes back and goes, what have you done? Think about it. You cannot just be happy like that. You don't even know why you are happy, which is a fact. And then you go, yes, what have I done? Yes. We used to call it the 4 or 5 years syndrome, It comes back to him and go, what have I? And am I supposed the whole life to do this? Surrender? No, in this lifetime, no more sex, no more drugs. It's finished. I made a vow. Wow, what have I done? Then comes the mind back, and the false ego goes, well. There's other ways to practice Krishna consciousness. Krishna is everywhere. Yeah. Krishna is everywhere, not in a temple. He's everywhere. And you have to be loving and tolerant. It's a gradual process. So first, you become vegetarian. Sex, drugs, rock and roll, a little bit. Not too much, we know that. Just a little bit. We always used to laugh about this kind of Maya preaching. It was exhibited in an advertisement for a German liquor called Jägermeister. The advertisement boards were everywhere on the street. And they had one slogan for this liquor. So it's a big bottle of Jägermeister, and underneath was written, mäßig, aber regelmäßig. That means slowly, but always. So this is like, don't become alcoholic, just little alcoholic, all the time. This is Maya preaching. Yeah, you can chant Hare Krishna also, it's okay, but little Maya, mäßig, aber regelmäßig, Just not too much Maya, just little, The problem is with Maya that you give her one little finger and boom, she takes the whole hand. And after the hand comes the rest. I couldn't hold it once I found such a Vaishnava in a gutter practical line there who was following this line of preaching. I couldn't handle it. We were young, we were not so merciful, So I just passing by and he was in a park, just always Sankirtan, those words, mäßig, aber regelmäßig. It wasn't exactly very kind, but it was, it was more about the Mayas, about him. Maya is so tricky and so cruel, She goes, they just come little. You can still chant Hare Krishna, no problem. Like the ladies, what the Brahmacharis got dragged down by them and they were always going, you can chant Hare Krishna, but you have to be loving. By the time she was pregnant, he was finished. This is the result. Loving. Okay, I have to get a job. Loving. The loving can turn very, very excited marathon. It's really, you cannot, and at the end, there's no money. Because material nature just whips you in a shape where you are so agitated. How can you be loving when you are agitated all the time? So, this is my aspect. So, therefore I'm a little bit careful sometimes about the audience when you pull the Prabhupada quote, Sangedan Gita, because when it comes to Buddhist devotion, Prabhupada became quite resolute. With the Buddhist devotees and about Buddhist devotion, Prabhupada started to use the military, language. Let the books rain from the sky like bombs. Let's bomb the country with books. Our Germans love that. What? It's a spiritual kind of third world war we are doing here, okay? Let's bomb them all out with books. Yeah? This was the vocabulary you find in his letters all the time. And Prabhupada was excited. Let's bomb Maya out. Or he used the word of infectious. Let's infect them all with Krishna consciousness. Let's spread the virus. Prabhupada became, when he came to Buddhist devotion, he became really dynamic. Prabhupada was so excited because when you think about that, this was actually, Prabhupada made it all, and he wrote it to me, it's a devotional service absolute. So don't be careful, don't think we are the elite Sankirtan troops. Nowadays we don't have to get that kind of problem. Rather our problem is that in one country there is usually one Sankirtan devotee. And of course the feeling that you are very distinct and unique comes up, because you are the only one. Previously there was such an inflation, comparatively spoken with Sankirtan, it was not so easy to become the unique and distinct one. I mean, you have to come up to 500 books a week at least. Then people took notice. Hey, he's distributing something here. Nowadays you do 3 books and you know, what? He did 3 books. You know. And it's good. It's unique. It's still unique. But we should not forget that every devotee is kind of unique. And it's a united effort already those days. Can you imagine when 20 devotees were going on Sankirtan, one devotee was staying back washing the laundry for them. That was on that level. And this washing of laundry was considered non-different. Why are you doing?
I'm going to take the plate.
So this washing of laundry was not considered different from going out and distributing books. It's like in the army. Since Prabhupada used the military vocabulary, it's like in the army. So in the army, the man in the kitchen in the back, and the one who is driving the ammunition to the battlefield, well, he is considered the same, like the fighting soldier in front. Why? Because without him, the man in front cannot fight. There's no ammunition, there's no food, there's nothing. So I joined actually a movement where everybody was in the same spirit, but it doesn't mean everybody was doing the same. You know, even the pujari on the altar was like, you know, I'm not saying we should do this here, but we started to decorate the altar with books and things like this, and we had all kinds of functions. I mentioned that several times, that whoever is the number 1 in a week, he can do the Mangala Artik Sunday morning. Without even being qualified much as a pujari, it was me, you know, and I was not qualified until today. I might think, but they pushed me, you know, number 1 puja, Sunday morning. And I asked pujaris, you know, what should I do here? I don't know one thing. And of course they looked at me, asked Radha Prabhu, and that was the top pujari in ISKCON. He looked at me and was going, oh, you see, there's these things on a plate here. So you just grab something, and he didn't even tell me the sequence even. But I remember someone, oh yeah, first comes the incense and then the ghee lamp. And he said, you just do 7 cycles of the devotees and that's it, put it down. And 3 to devotees and put it down. And I said, yeah, but you are doing much more. You chant all these mantras, you know, I don't know anything of this. And he said, you know, if you look at me, maybe you try to teach me something at all. He said, just chant Hare Krishna, that's okay. You know, he knew how hopeless I am. And I told him, but I'm not purified enough. I remember exactly that conversation. He said, you were the whole week on Sankirtan, you are totally purified. The same thing happened to me in Mayapur, Panchajam, you know. Yeah, what? Yeah, pujaris are those. These 2 brothers. My God, I mean, just living in Mayapur, just living in Mayapur is not easy. Surviving the floods and everything, attacks from robbers and, you know, all kinds of things. Mayapur, especially in the early days, was a really wild place. And they were there from the beginning with the deities, all the time. They are British, they are not even Indian. They have such a wonderful arrangement that one can always be there while the other one goes to England when the passport runs out of validity. And it doesn't matter which one goes because they look so identical. So they go, whoever can, they can go to England and renew the passport for him. They will not see the difference, the authorities. So that's convenient arrangement. Whoever was more available went to England to renew the visa or the passport. Even it was actually the other one, because people wouldn't notice one thing, because they're so identical.